Hey, it's Justin, and I've been hearing economists from time to time mention something called the Gini Coefficient. Have you ever heard of it? It's not genie in a bottle, Genie. It's a guy named Corrado Gini. He was an Italian, so he's got that Italian-sounding name, and he was a sociologist, and he was interested in the distribution of wealth in nations. And he came up with this way of measuring it, and it was called the Gini Coefficient. A lot of it's over my head. However, the cliff notes is that a Gini coefficient of 0 means that everyone has the exact same income, and a Gini coefficient of 1 would mean that one person had all the income. So, as you can imagine, no country either is 0 or 1. They're all somewhere in between. South Africa would be on the high end. In other words, closer to 1. In other words, the income is less distributed less evenly distributed in South Africa. In Norway, it's more evenly distributed, relatively speaking. It's closer to 0. And in the United States, it's somewhere in between the two. It's sort of in the middle. And I suppose if you are an Ayn Rand person, Ayn Rand, I can never say it, Ayn Rand person, you think, well, you should have a high Gini coefficient because it toughens people up and it, gives them entrepreneurial, chops. It makes them tougher. And the poor should work harder, and the rich, they busted ass for that money, and they deserve it. And if you're a John Steinbeck person, if you like reading that type of material, you think, this doesn't seem fair. It's not healthy. To have a high Gini coefficient. You should have a low Gini coefficient. That seems like the right way to have a society. So, and regarding real estate, I think this is one of the things you're seeing where in the United States today, you've got the bottom half of the economy that is looking at housing and thinking, we can never buy a house and we can't even afford rent. Or just barely, and if we can afford a trailer, we can't afford a normal house. I mean, these type of conversations, these frustrations are seen in the lower half of the economy, and in the top 5%, 4%, 3%. It must be amazing to have all this money, and is it right that there's such a concentration of wealth? I think both sides there's some validity to both sides. I suppose I'm, at the end of the day, I'm more of a John Steinbeck guy. But it's one of the things that I think confuses the issue when you talk about economics and real estate. When I think if you're an older person, you remember your formative years were in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. You probably think the Gini coefficient is lower than it actually is, right? And if you're a millennial, you probably think the Gini coefficient is higher than it actually is, I suspect, because you're looking at the economy as a millennial thinking, what the hell happened? I can't afford anything. And if you're a boomer, let's say, you're like, well, we worked hard and we got all this stuff and we have 2 houses and we have all this, we're doing great. What's wrong with kids today? And I think what's wrong with kids today is the Gini coefficient. And it's, certainly some kids are doing great and making a lot of money and got a professional career and all that stuff. But an awful lot are not doing well. They're not doing as well as their parents, and they're disappointed. Their parents are disappointed, and and it would be nice to think, well, they just need to bootstrap it up. And I think that what worked as far as bootstrapping in the 60s don't work anymore. Now, it's not to say you can't bootstrap and get yourself together and get yourself an education or get yourself an entrepreneurial thing and prevail. However, I just don't think it's anything like it was in the 60s. And I think this is a thing that you'll see. For instance, movies like, and this is going way back, but movies like Reality Bites, where the parents just don't understand why the younger generation is having so much trouble. And that was somewhere in the middle. I mean, since then the Gini coefficient has gotten a lot higher in the United States. I mean, I thought it was tough when I was 20. It's gotten a lot tougher. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And is it good for people, or is it bad? Should the Gini coefficient be higher or lower? Are you a higher coefficient person or a lower? Are you a Steinbeck person or are you a Rand person? I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know which one you are and why. Put something in the comments. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. This is Justin, your Renegade Realtor. Thanks for tuning in.